Well, hello there. Alright, so this is probably a very different look for a video, but since my computer is tied up rendering the last video, I basically decided to just do almost like a behind the scenes kind of look. You kind of see a little bit more of what's going on in the office than usual. But let's talk about the Kristaps Porzingis situation. So before the game last night, Rick Carlisle talked to Brad Townsend, among others, and basically wasn't very optimistic. He pretty much said, the black and white of it is he's not ready tonight to play, but he also kind of insinuated we're just trying to see if maybe there's a chance he can go game 6. And now we're hearing he's not very likely. As of today, we are hearing he's not very likely to play in game 6. That is devastating for a Dallas team, quite literally dangling by a thread at this point as far as the season is concerned. But in the grand scheme of things, this would have been a franchise decision. Everybody who tries to lay it at KP's feet is just being stupid. They're not looking beyond the surface, because KP left New York because he wanted to play basketball that mattered. He wanted to play in the playoffs, which he had never been to. Not only that, he gets here, and even though we only got him for two and a half games? In 2.5 games, he's been quite good. Yeah, he went for 35 in one of those games? Before he got ejected in game 1, so I guess 2 games. Before he got ejected in game 1, he went for 14 and 6. He's been good. This isn't a problem of KP sitting here and just going I don't feel like it. No. This is an organizational decision. The Mavericks looked at this and pretty much said, yeah, we need to protect the long-term investment here. And I liken this to the Western Conference Finals from 2003 with a 24-year-old Dirk Nowitzki. The Mavericks could have played him, wanted to play him. Actually, Cuban really wanted to play him. Dirk, being the young buck he was, he wanted to play. But Mavericks coach Don Nelson said, no. Dirk had gone down in that series with a sprained MCL in game 1 or 2, I forget which. And he was not... He was trying to come back for game 6 because the Mavericks had forced a game 6. And so he wanted to play, Cuban wanted him to play, and Don Nelson, the Mavericks coach at the time, said, no, I'm going to protect your long-term future because this dude has greatness written all over him. He is a guy who will go far. Now you look at it, number 6 all-time leading scorer, and yeah, one of the all-time greats. Probably one of the top 20 players in NBA history right now, as it currently stands. So, yeah, I'd say he made the right decision. Now, you could argue, hey, you needed 2 more wins to go to the finals that year, and you damn sure beat Jason Kidd in those Nets at the time. True. But there was still opportunity out there. And yes, Dirk went back then, 3 years later, to the finals for the first time, and then eventually got it done in 2011. So you don't get 2011 in all likelihood if you had played Dirk in that series. You would have been risking his health for the short term maybe, and forsaking what to Don Nelson was evident as a much bigger, brighter future than just one season. Now, the Mavericks, I think they probably view this as, with Dirk's case, we might have added 2 to 3 years to his prime. Not to his career, to his prime. At 37, he was still dropping buckets. So, yeah, I think he was nearly 50, 40, 90 club even at age 37. So, yeah, that's worth noting. KP, given his knee, this is not the surgically repaired knee, this is the other knee. This is a situation where we're talking about, I think it's tendonitis, essentially. It's different to compare that than to look at Luka's ankle, because Luka's ankle, ankles, they're the most common and easily worked around injury in basketball. As long as you don't have a major ligament tear, It might hurt like a gunshot wound when it happens, but you tape that son of a bitch up and you get back in there. That's what was able to happen with Luka. With knees, it's different. Knees are much more devastating if you keep effing around with it too much. And KP, they probably look at it and say, if we play him right now, one, we're in the first round. We're not even in the situation Dirk was in 2003. Because at least there, you were at the cusp of the championship. Or finals, at least. Yes, KP is 25 and Dirk was 24, but that's about the differences. It's both of them with a knee, and 25 versus 24. Those sound similar enough on the surface, but the context surrounding it is completely different. You don't mess with that, and it's not KP's decision. It's not. KP wants to play. So, based on that, it's frustrating, I grant you. You think I wouldn't want KP this series? I mean, even setting aside losing him in Game 1 the way we did, you think I don't want KP in Games 4, 5, or 6? Hell no. Hell no. Hell no, I wouldn't want him is what I'm saying. How do I say this as a double negative to structure the sentence the way I wanted to, where I'm trying to tell you I really want KP on the team and available for these games? That answer, whatever that is, God knows I'm a journalist and an English minor, but, not always speak so good. So, with that in mind, it's frustrating, it is. But I think Dallas has to be looking at the long-term picture here because you don't want to risk what could be an extended run. When Dallas traded for KP at the introductory press conference, Mark Cuban famously said he wanted to keep Dirk and Nash together much longer. He didn't, and so now he wants to keep Luka and KP together for the next 20 years. Now that is damn optimistic. I'm going to say it's a little bit of hyperbole, but I guarantee you, even in his wildest dreams, as he talked about wanting to keep these guys together, he did not mean for one season. When Mark Cuban made that statement, he was thinking minimum the full life expectancy of KP's 5-year max contract, which he then signed this past offseason. The introductory press conference was in February. He signed it in July. 5 months later. That is what Cuban saw, and that's what he banked on. So, yeah, do I risk even just the next 5 years? You got KP under contract through 2027. You got Luka currently just on his... you got KP under contract through 2024. Luka with his rookie contract that he's still on, and then the full max contract he'll get available for, which 99.9% of players in his situation have taken. You got him then through 2027. Until we're talking about 2024, I'm not even trying to hear any hearsay about getting rid of KP. I know Gavin Dawson of The Fan liked to talk about the scenario wherein Dallas trades him this offseason and is even willing to take back less in return to get rid of his contract. First of all, as great as KP's been since January, do you think a series in which he missed 3.5 games, at least, is not going to be the last thing people remember? Especially to Kavanaugh's point, the fact is that he had the surgery on the left knee, so if they have any reasons to believe it might be a right knee issue, and they don't have our renowned training staff and the inside notes that we have, having been around him all the past year and change, do you think that they're going to willingly take him off your hands unless they're just completely robbing you blind? No. It's a bad roster building move, dude. You can't keep playing every decision as if you're playing NBA 2K. You can't. That's not how it works. So yes, KP's situation sucks. I want him available. I didn't think that I thought if he missed game 4, he would be ready for 5. That was not the case. Now we're hearing, based on Carlisle's tone and everything that's been intimated thus far, that, yeah, it's probably not very likely he plays game 6 either. And even if the Mavericks could push it to 7, based on the tone of Carlisle's comments, I'm hard-pressed to say he'd be available for game 7. I think we might be reaching that point where KP is just going to be shut down essentially for this season. Now, if the Mavericks got past the Clippers at this point, winning the next 2 games, could you foresee a scenario where KP can play in the second round? Maybe. But it probably would take a game or 2. He missed 10 games in the middle of the season with this same knee, with tendonitis or whatever. So, based on that, I tend to think he's going to need about the equivalent of that amount of time, which was, 2.5 weeks? Now, he almost came back after 6, but he had a setback in shoot-around, kind of like what happened at the start of Game 4. He had something, just didn't feel right, didn't move right. His teammates noticed it as well. Trey Burke commented on that. So, yeah, there was something to that. I don't know how that would set up here. If he needed 2 weeks, you're probably not really getting him in round 2 either. So, these games being played every other day in the playoffs is brutal for any chance he has of returning and actually contributing to this roster. So I tend to think that, yeah, we are at the point where KP is going to shut down for the year, and that sucks and that's devastating, but you know what? Keep it in context. Keep it in focus. Dallas was expected to probably narrowly miss the playoffs, and instead won 43 games technically in the regular season. That was drastically reduced because of COVID. They would have won 50. They were on pace for 50. So they won that many games. They made the playoffs as a 7 seed. They got the worst matchup possible and still pushed them to at least 6 games. Luka and KP, we saw it once they figured it out on the court in late January. They were magic together. They will be able to draw in free agents. And now you got playoff Luka showing everybody exactly what he can do and why he alone makes Dallas a free agent must destination. And the fact that you can sprinkle in a unicorn in KP with that, and KP, when he was able to play from January until right before Game 4, why he was playing at a higher level of basketball than he's ever played in his career, yeah, that's a pretty nice package to have. So think about it that way. Don't get hung up on KP having to miss a couple games. He doesn't need surgery or anything like that. This is rest. This is something where Dallas probably, in hindsight, wishes they had slightly managed him better in the bubble play. But, you do what you can. KP had to play a few big-minute games in a row during the bubble, and then this series kind of went the way it did. I don't know if it's that slip he took at the very, very end, the last play of Game 3. He caught an inbound pass and feet slid out from under him. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but it was an awkward, weird-looking spill, and the thought did occur to me of oh, that could be bad when that happens to guys, especially a guy like KP with his knees. And then come to find a couple days later, right before tip-off, oh, no, he's out. So we'll see. I'll keep you up to date, but I think we've seen the last of the unicorn for this season, unfortunately.